Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today, and a big thank you to SVG for putting this team summit together. My name is Dan MacDonald, Director of Product Marketing at Chyron, and today we're going to take a quick 15-minute look at our client Sportsground and how they're leveraging Chyron's cloud-based production platforms to go beyond the limits of their existing remote production facility, which ultimately I think serves as a great example of how to expand your business with the cloud. So, to jump right into it, who is Sportsground? Sportsground is a production services company based in Stockholm, Sweden. Founded in 2011, they've been a major background force in the proliferation of sports streaming channels in Sweden, working hand in hand with the country's media houses to provide live streaming coverage of football, soccer for our North Americans in the audience, basketball, hockey, and other emerging sports such as handball and pickleball. These media houses include TV networks looking to expand their streaming offerings, as well as newspaper companies trying to build up their online audiences. So, Sportsground's success lies in one, providing professional production value with multicam coverage, real-time motion graphics, replay, telestration, commentary, player tracking, virtual advertising, and post-match highlight packages. And two, being able to deliver these services at a remarkably low cost through a very straightforward remote production workflow. While Sportsground offers on-site mobile production services, the bulk of their projects are powered from their centrally located media hub facility in Stockholm, executing over 15,000 productions from this facility during their 12-year history. And while Sportsground's media hub has done an exceptional job for their business, the team had started hitting the threshold of what the facility could handle, essentially maxing out the physical limits of their rack room and control room real estate. They wanted to expand their project capacity, but as is always the hair in the soup with this kind of scenario, that expansion would entail significant investment in a new facility with new equipment that, which as many people on this call may know, can put you in a one step forward, two steps back scenario as a business for the foreseeable future. Around solving this central problem, Sportsground had a few other key objectives they wanted to meet, such as maintaining their professional standard of production quality, improving their remote flexibility. Sportsground is actually a four-man team that relies heavily on a pool of over 60 freelancers across the country, from camera ops, production operators, to commentators, and wanted to provide more flexibility for working locations. They also want to simplify production control. At the core of Sportsground's offerings is an ultralight two-man production with a single camera on site and a single operator back in the media hub controlling graphics and replay while doing live game commentary. So simplicity is paramount. Now, let's take a look at Sportsground's pre-existing remote production workflows. Starting on-site at the venue, camera operators are working with SDI broadcast cameras and utilize portable Intonor encoders, these very handy direct link backpack units that encode SDI video and audio into a wide variety of streaming protocols. From there, the video streams are sent to a router in the Sportsground facility, which then converts that back to an SDI signal and routes the input to one of Sportsground's MCR stations, which consist of a legacy Chyron graphics server, a Chyron Paint replay and telestration server, and a server for managing audio signals. These are older hardware engines that don't natively support streaming video connectivity, and each of these MCR stations have their own dedicated control suite. The majority are for these single operator productions where a single person is driving graphics, creating replays, performing live commentary. However, there are larger suites for higher end productions with multiple cameras, telestration, and other additional services. And lastly, the final production output is sent back to the router via SDI, converted to a streaming format, and sent out to the client's streaming platforms of choice. Now, what are the hurdles in this workflow? The first is the rack room. Sportsground has hit their absolute hard limit with the real estate they have, with 40 chassis spread across 9 equipment racks and a jungle of back and forth cabling throughout the facility. When I asked Sportsground to describe their rack room to me, they simply replied it was a mess, and I'm sure many of us have felt that feeling while staring at our own rack room in the past. The next hurdle is each of their production stations require localized control rooms, with all operators physically present at the remote facility for a show, this is also a compounding real estate issue because you need space for each system's control interface, screens for monitoring, and in the unique case of Sportsground, they're all-in-one operator commentators. Many rooms need to be their own soundproofed unit to avoid picking up commentary from a different show. And again, in the case of these single operator productions on separate graphics and replay engines, you need to be careful not to upset the apple cart and make things too complex with a new setup. So ultimately, they've maxed out the capability of their production facility and have no room to expand. And to avoid that behemoth investment in a brand new facility, Sportsground looked to the cloud, which brings us to Chyron Live. This is Chyron's cloud-native, all-in-one production platform that combines the best of what we do at Chyron, particularly for sports broadcasting, brings it into an AWS architecture, and makes everything available from anywhere with an internet connection through its HTML5 interface. So how does Chyron Live help Sportsground overcome the hurdles they were facing with their current facility? First, Chyron Live leverages our Prime platform and its broadcast-grade software modules for production switching, real-time motion graphics, clip playout, and audio mixing. So on a single cloud instance, they have access to a simple 6-camera video switcher, 2 full-featured channels of Prime CG graphics, 2 clip playout channels, a multi-channel audio mixer for all of their input sources, graphic sound effects, and clip audio, as well as a commentary interface that makes it easy for a remote commentator to get an eye on the production and bring their audio into Live's mixer through an SRT stream. Another key advantage for Sportsground is Live brings the very same replay and 3D telestration functionality of Paint, the same engine they've been working with, into this all-in-one cloud production environment. This is very cool. With the launch of Chyron Live and NAB last year, this represented an industry first for bringing a real sports telestration toolset into the cloud. So Live provides access to recordings of all 6 inputs. You can jog through footage, clip off a replay, and start telestrating with spotlights, numbers, pass trackers, magnifiers, directional arrows, and so on. Keyframe those effects to track along with the action and take some really cool illustrated replays to air. And the cool part here is Live is made available through an on-demand by the active production hour subscription. So Sportsground will only pay for Live during the periods they need to spin up a production instance to meet heightened demands. Another key advantage is the complete flexibility of remote production. In Sportsground's single operator scenarios, a freelancer can log into an instance from virtually anywhere and have access to everything they need to produce the show in a single interface. And for those higher-end multicam productions where it's desirable to have dedicated operators for switching, graphics, and telestration, a Live instance will maintain real-time state across multiple connected users. So a remote freelancer can be creating replays and telestrating clips while someone at the Sportsground facility is switching cameras and bringing in graphics, and they'll both have visibility of what the other is doing. And lastly, with Sportsground's extensive use of streaming technology for their on-site video capture and client delivery, it just makes a lot of sense to work with a single platform in the cloud that handles these streaming protocols natively rather than multiple hardware systems that require you to encode, de-encode, and re-encode a signal for your final output. Now, what's the impact on Sportsground's workflow? Essentially, the whole middle production portion has become far more lightweight and far more flexible. Sportsground is able to leverage their existing cameras and Intonor encoding devices to stream video and audio from their event. No new on-site equipment required. Sportsground has untethered production control from their Stockholm facility, providing a lot more flexibility for freelancers to connect to a Live instance from their home office or remote location and collaborate with the Sportsground team in real time. Another key outcome is they're able to maintain the professional level of production quality they pride themselves on, as Live takes the same broadcast-grade CG graphics and replay telestration engines that Sportsground has built their brand on and makes it all available in a cloud environment. The operator experience has become a lot more streamlined. Previously, graphics, replay, and commentary were happening through separate systems and interfaces, whereas now they're all handled on a single platform and a single interface. And crucially, the same production horsepower of one of Sportsground's MCR stations is now fulfilled by a cloud instance with essentially zero hardware footprint, rather than multiple server chassis, routers, audio processors, cabling, and bespoke control surfaces. Eliminating that investment barrier to scaling up is huge. And finally, they're able to easily deliver a show to their clients' streaming platforms of choice with far less hassle. Streams come in, production happens in live, program stream goes out. No back and forth cabling and repetitive conversion process. So Sportsground started their work with Chyron Live in November 2022, kicking things off with a women's soccer production for Expressen, one of the two nationwide evening papers in Sweden. It was a simple one-camera production with graphics and replays, and the end client was very happy with the final product. Something kind of cool when we talk about the efficient use of space and flexibility of remote production was the Sportsground team actually used their personal office spaces in the Media Hub facility for their first production with Live, working on their work laptops and tablets. And since then, they've been doing more and more productions on Live to get their team familiar with the system, and are looking to start bringing Live into their higher-end productions to take advantage of the switching and telestration features. And on that note, Matthias, Sportsground's head of operations, told us that they see this kind of cloud technology as the path forward for how they grow their business, primarily because of how it gives them the ability to scale. And I think that's the most important concept at play here, because while there are operator quality of life improvements that we've heard about from Sportsground, simplified UIs, reducing the need for specialized operators, working remotely with freelancers to eliminate travel costs, the main takeaway here is how you can use the cloud to build on what you do in a smart, cost-effective way. I mean, Sportsground's Media Hub is a fantastic remote production facility that is producing shows at a level of quality that both the team and their clients are very happy with. And they're not doing away with that to use Live. Instead, they're leveraging their existing facility, this major investment their business has made for the bulk of their productions. And when they encounter a scenario or production schedule that exceeds the limits of the facility, they can use Live to dynamically scale to this elevated production capacity. And they're able to do that without the extensive hardware purchases necessary to assemble another MCR station, without investments into facility real estate, and without all the time and labor that goes into building those things out. Instead of overcoming these huge upfront costs to do more, they can spin up a cloud instance when they need one, pay for the time they need it active for use, and shut it down until the next time they need it. So ultimately, I think Sportsground is a great example of how you can use cloud technology to build your business, expand on the great things you do in the world of live production without all the logistical fuss and cost frustration you might be used to. And with that, I'll conclude my presentation. I'd like to thank you for giving me your time today. If you have any questions or want to discuss how you can use this kind of technology in your workflow, my contact info is on the screen. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the sessions today, and thank you so much, everyone.